Welcome to the EMT Pro podcast, where we deliver relevant EMS content from the field and the classroom each week. Episodes of this podcast can get you 1 full hour of CE through our partner, emt-ce.com, so head over there for more information. I'm your host, Steve Williams, and with me, as usual, although it's been a while, Dan and Holly.
Guys, hi, Steve.
Hi. How are you guys doing?
Hello.
It has been a while. Been too long.
It has, yeah. I think we owe the listeners a little explanation for what's caused the hiatus.
Well, I've been in prison.
Okay.
So I don't know what your guys' excuse is.
It's been difficult to deal with.
Oh, man. I'm sorry, Holly. I didn't think that was going to come up.
It's part of my therapy is to
just get it out there.
get it out there, yeah.
Right.
But no, our schedules have been nuts the last 3-4 months. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we owe it to the listeners to say right here and right now that we're going to get back on a regular schedule. Is that something we can do? Can we
Absolutely.
agree to that?
Committed.
All right. You heard it here. So Dan, why don't you go first? What have you been up to? Because you've had probably the biggest.
Well.
No, you both have had really big changes to your schedule. So.
Holly's schedule has changed a lot. My schedule, I got off the fire engine and went to the vaccine branch, they call it.
So describe to everybody 3rd. What you're doing, because no one knows what the vaccine branch is.
We are vaccinating the world. Mm-hmm. We do about 1,000 a day.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot of arms, and that's with 2 pods, with 2 vaccinators.
And so if I go on driving through or walking up and sitting down,
we do both.
Okay.
We do 2 at a drive-through, and then 2 just at a center.
Yeah.
And is it just like people go and sign up for their shot and they randomly get sent to?
Yeah. So if you're in the county that we're offering it, so we provide it to 3 different counties.
Okay.
And so they just get on the website. If they're eligible, then they sign up. They come in. I talk to 500 plus people a day, which is really...
Man, that's a wide swath of folks.
Being this old, you don't really want to talk to that many people.
No. Are people, like, when I got my shot, I was like, thank you so much for being here. I was so excited and just thought it was so cool that they were there to give me my shot. Are people nice to you?
They're very nice. Yeah. To the point it's annoying. Okay, thank you. Get out.
You're like, wait a minute. I've been in public service for 30 years. People aren't supposed to be nice to me.
Right. But I mean, it's a monumental time for them. It's their time. They see light at the end of the tunnel, and I need to recognize that it's not about me right now. It's about everyone
it's been
else.
A year.
Mm-hmm.
Been a year.
It has.
We're super thankful.
It was almost a year ago. We recorded. It's been about a year since we recorded our first episode.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was about COVID, right? You guys did a episode about...
I think our second one was about COVID. Our first one was like case reviews or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, our second episode, Dan
so
and I
much
talked
has
about
changed
COVID.
since then.
Yeah. You weren't here that day. We were doing something else.
It feels like it hasn't been a year, but then it feels like forever.
It feels like it's been 5 years, but it was also been like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
That's really strange.
Yeah.
Do you remember March of last year? How everybody was saying like March is going for what feels like 5 years now.
Yes.
It just never ended.
Yeah.
And
how it's going to be done by summertime.
Right. Yeah. Maybe by the end of April, we'll be in a better spot. It's like,
maybe by the end of April 2021.
Right.
We'll be in a better spot. So you've been doing the vaccine clinic, which is super cool.
Yep.
Good for you.
So that's it. 5-6 days a week.
Yeah, you've been hard to get a hold of.
40 hours a week. Like a 40-hour schedule.
Yeah,
but
which
you're
is
not
horrible.
40 hours.
My wife is ready to divorce me. Home every night. I drive in. Yesterday I drove in and she's up on this lift. She rented a lift, like a 50-foot lift, and she's up because we have this really high roof. She's up there because we had some roof damage.
That's right. You got this like super old historic house, right?
Well, it's called a box. But yes.
But it's on the registry, so it's good.
Right, it's okay. So she's up on this lift, and she looks down at me. She shakes her head like, "Oh gosh, she's home again."
Yeah. Dang it.
Can you just?
Or she might have been thinking like, "Shoot, he caught me up here on the roof."
Yeah.
This
whole time I thought it was her B shift boyfriend, but. That's it. That's all I got. That's all I've been doing.
Man. So how many shots are you delivering personally every shift? If you had to guess.
Well, because I do it so quickly, because I've done so many. Mm-hmm. Like I had one 2 days ago where we were They would walk in, they'd put down their paperwork. I would stab them. My partner would stamp the paperwork, and then I put a sticker on their shirt and say, "Okay, see you later." 8.5 seconds.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you don't get much of a relationship with that, thank goodness. So, I do between 500 and 700 a day.
Personally?
Personally.
It's a lot of shots. You're gonna have like this giant forearm when you're.
I'm putting CBD oil on this part of my hand right here because it hurts so much.
Jeez,
on my elbow. So
yeah. Does it work?
Yeah, it works great.
That's good.
So yeah, it's a lot of shots.
It's a lot of shots.
I don't need to do any more.
No.
You're saving more lives right now than you have in your entire career put together.
Right. I like if you think about that, man. That's very true.
Yeah, but I like that point. It's finally in my career. I'm not enabling someone like, oh, maybe you should go up to the hospital, be checked out. When in reality, I know I just don't want to get called back tonight.
Right.
Right. So this is actually doing something good.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's good.
You're getting satisfaction out of it?
I'm ready to be done.
How long is this going to?
Well, for the department, it's growing and growing and growing. They're talking 6,000 vaccines a day of the J&J. But I'm going to pull the plug because I only have a year left, and I want to spend the last year in a fire station. So May 1st.
You have another year left?
Yeah, 15 months really.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you were almost done.
I know. It feels like it though.
Well,
I'm starting to panic.
You are done. You're just choosing to.
You're done with your work back.
Right.
Yeah.
Then I'll just come and do ride-alongs. Hey, here's that old guy again.
Hey, Steve, can I come?
He's going to be the guy at the breakfast table in the morning with his coffee.
Yes.
And they're like,
Where'd you guys going?
Who's this guy?
I remember those calls.
Hey, kids, let me take this one. I got it.
Let me tell you a story.
Well, Holly, you total change in your work schedule too.
Yeah.
Tell everybody what you've been up to.
Let's see. I had a sort of a family emergency situation, so I quit my job.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, can I still be on the podcast if I'm not a cool flight nurse? So I did. I temporarily sort of walked away from like the only career that I've ever known, which has been awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good change. Though.
Yeah. I'm not the kind of person that would be like, I'm just going to quit my job and see what happens. Of course, I had another job lined up because don't want to panic too much. Yeah. But walking away from the conventional to do something like I'm just contracting right now, doing contract work was not in my personality realm.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, actually. Walking away from that was hard because I love my job and I love training and I'll do it again someday. But taking that leap and then doing this contract work has really just kind of opened up a whole new world of you don't have to work 70 hours a week and not be appreciated. Yeah. You can actually be home with your family and still make good money and do all of these other things. So it's been interesting. But then I have to work like this conventional schedule, which sucks.
Which you're not used to.
I don't know how people work 5 days in a row. It's terrible.
Yeah.
All you people out there working a normal schedule,
it is different.
Kudos to you because it is not in my DNA. Mm-hmm. It sucks. I was like, no wonder this country's depressed. And, because you go to work and that's all you do is drive to work and be with people you maybe don't know or kind of like.
Right. Yeah.
And then you
fight
come
the traffic home.
Yeah, and then you have 2 days off.
Yeah.
And by the time you get home, it's like food and bedtime and homework, and that's no way to live.
Yeah.
I miss my 24-hour shifts.
That's right. Then off for 3.
My time off. So that's what I've been doing. It's been interesting, to say the least.
Good for you. It's good to see you guys, though.
I know.
What about you, Steve? What have you been doing? Growing your hair out. I like that.
I mean, I wish everybody could see it. I think it's about 10 days since I shaved it last, so it's a little longer than usual.
And just since they can't see you, like this guy has lots of hair, but chooses to shave his head.
I do. Yeah. It's a choice I make. It's for ease, and I feel like I look like I'm about 12 years old when I have a full head of hair.
Did it start with the driver's license?
What's that?
Did it start with the scabies? You had to shave it.
Yeah, it all started with the scabies.
It all started with the lice, and then he burnt his house down.
Passing my
I can see why you shaved this, sir.
Driver's license photo.
Oh, you're so cute. How long ago was this picture?
That would have been probably 5 years ago. So early 30s.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be worse problems in the world than looking younger than you are.
I'm sure I'll appreciate it, in about 10 years or so. But, oh well. But other than that, doing a lot of website work. We've been getting increasingly busy with our other websites. And so that's been a good problem to have. But, everybody's online right now because they can't go to classrooms. And so content is king. And so making all that content is really, really time consuming. So we've, I think we've talked about, we do a few other websites. We do EMT prep. Everybody knows about EMT-CE, and then EMTclass.com is another one. And you guys have helped out making content for, I think, all of those, primarily CE and class though. And
with our cadaver lab stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. And some other videos here. Dan did a lot of EMT class videos in the studio. But that content has been just nonstop editing and creating and editing and creating. And
when did the residual check come out?
the residual checks?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like the bonuses?
What is it called? The royalties.
Royalties?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you get noticed in the store from your fame, that's
Okay.
when
They'll be like, let me see your hands.
Oh,
I
those old
recognize
man
those
hands.
hands,
Those look
yeah.
exactly like it. Nice liver spots.
We actually have, so on YouTube, we have a free channel where all of our content most of our content is put up that we give away for free. And the gentleman who did our NREMT test prep videos is a guy named Dan. And those videos have a few million views on them. And Dan has been stopped at Target shopping with his wife.
Really?
And this kid, he told me the story. This kid stopped him and said, "Hey, aren't you the EMT prep guy?" And he's like, "They don't pay me enough to do this." Oh man, it was funny. But yeah, he's become, I don't know,
Your little
EMS
celebrity.
famous, whatever that means. But
That's pretty fun.
pretty hilarious. But other than doing that, just honestly, I stepped back from a lot of commitments at the fire department. Really focused on time with Jenna and the kids, and it's been really, really good. Just being really, really, what's the word I'm looking for?
Centered?
No, like purposeful with every yes that I give,
Mm-hmm.
and not just spreading myself too thin and saying yes to too much stuff, and then
That's hard to
running
do.
around and being crazy.
It's really hard to do.
I have a family mentor who's a guy that I speak with, awesome guy. He's actually one of Jenna's uncles. And we've been going back and forth talking about basically being hurried and busyness. And we're pretty certain those are like two root causes for like nothing positive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't think of anything good that's come out of me hurrying or me being overly busy. And it's choices I'm making, right? And so I'm choosing to allow that to happen. And by being more purposeful with my yes and no, then helps. Yeah,
That's a good one.
Dan's having one of those moments where,
Right. Okay, I got to leave now.
yeah, this is getting too personal, and I don't like
gotta
this
say
feeling
that
inside
stepping
me.
back from the traditional, or whatever work you're doing definitely helps. That I was thinking, I only have 5 more spring breaks with Addie.
Wow.
Before she's gone to college. That's
Yeah.
not very many. And so
No.
thinking about it in that terms makes it feel a little more urgent to make that your priority, which is hard to do, but
Yes, it is.
It is, but it isn't, right? If you make that choice, like right now,
Right.
you're making that choice to have a purposeful yes.
Right. You have to.
Right.
It can't just happen.
Right.
If you let it just happen, busyness happens.
right. And then it's gone. But I do feel like probably our age
Yes.
and our career, where we are in our careers, has allowed us to kind of take that time to step back. Because I think like all through your 20s, you're just sort of go, building your career, working hard, never say no, although I know I'm a workaholic. But
Maybe.
You just are so outwardly focused that I think maybe it's just where we're at in our lives.
Totally.
Affords us to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm. I know that I learned busyness and hurry from my parents.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, total workaholic, complete workaholic. Love him to death. Awesome, awesome guy. But, and he'll admit it, he just works way too much. And that's been his I guess, downfall. I don't know what you want to call it, but he's had to really work on not working too much. And it's been hard for him because he started working on that way later.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to learn it in my 30s, and it's awesome. So
Yeah.
But see, that's
you're
generational.
cringing right now.
I am cringing because my boy, who's trying to follow my footsteps, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's 21 years old. He's going golfing today.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it's like, what? You're going golfing? It's Saturday. Is it Saturday?
It is, and it's a sunny day in Oregon in March.
Yeah. So why aren't you working or doing something? Because that's how I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so much money, and so to get the money to where we needed to pay the bills, I was taught that you have to do anything and everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys,
right.
and I admire them for that, but yet I despise them for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like this is a great segue.
Oh.
Yeah, because we are going to talk about generational differences in EMS today. And it's a big topic that I think the three of us would admit, only have personal experience with and have not studied this at
Not
all.
one
So
bit.
this is like
Not
100%
one
opinion, with a little bit of facts sprinkled in. But I'm sure we're going to have stories that resonate with people out there. Because you do a quick search of the web, and the stuff that we complain about with the other generations is what is out there. So there's, stereotypes and, lots of stuff that's put out there. But I think it's worth talking about and how we kind of navigate it in our professions, because it is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So can I ask, what age are we catering to on this podcast right now? What do you think?
I'm sure that there's a way I could find that out. But if you're listening to podcasts, I know that I've heard you generally are a little wealthier than most. Now, I think that might be middle class, not lower middle class, potentially, I think is on average true. And you tend to be, I think it's 18 to 45 is kind of the swath of folks that listen to the majority of podcasts. I couldn't tell you what the male-female breakdown is.
So some of what we say could not be offensive, but people could take it personally. Like, let's say I'm talking about a 20-some-year-old who's, who has a totally different outlook on work than I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, people are going to get offended about
and like you said, this is just our opinion and our experiences.
Yes.
And what we kind of see coming down the road with our departments.
100%.
In our profession.
Yeah, and I think that, while we try to do as much with this podcast as we can that is, factual, comes from peer-reviewed sources and everything else with data for a continuing education course, we work in an industry that is constantly changing, and we're constantly being asked to do more, and we are constantly coming up with, I don't know if it's butting of heads, but just differences in the workplace with the way people were raised and the views that they have, and politics and social class play roles in that as well. And we're not getting into politics today. I don't ever want to do a politics podcast.
Never.
Oh, no, thank you. But I think the first thing we should probably do is talk about what the generations are. And it's not easy to find. The age, the years of birth, so to speak, by which these are defined are not.
And it's kind of like reading your horoscope, like,
Right.
That totally describes me, or no, it doesn't.
That's true.
You're right on the cusp.
So, okay, let me.
And there's 3 different quote generations in this room right now.
Right.
There is.
Actually.
Yeah, which, the
greatest generation right here.
Okay, boomer. Let me find this because it's wonky, but it is what it is. So the lost generation, okay, 1883 to 1900. We're not working with anyone in those generations anymore.
Although I feel that way sometimes.
No, me too.
You know who, well, would she have been? No, she wouldn't have been. I was going to say Beverly Cleary just died.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
so
Kids
sad.
author from Portland.
Yep.
The Greatest Generation, also known as the GI generation, 1901 to 1927. So Beverly Cleary would have been
That would have been
Greatest
her.
Generation. Yep. The Silent Generation, also known as the Lucky Few, 1928 to 1945. So,
Is that because of the war during that time?
yeah, World Wars and the Roaring 20s, end of the Roaring 20s. What would that be? The oldest person from that generation would be in their late 70s right now, mid to late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really have anyone in the workplace that's in that age.
Not in EMS,
Yeah.
but certainly in the hospital.
Yeah. A lot of doctors are
Yeah.
up there. A
Yeah.
lot of docs
Oh,
in
yeah.
their 70s. Let's see. Daniel,
Here I go.
baby boomers,
Baby boomers.
also known as the me generation. Didn't know that.
Oh.
Yeah, I see that.
46 to 64. That's your range?
That's me.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you for the handicap parking spot outside as well.
The me generation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not like the meat and potatoes generation, really. That's what
And
that
I
is.
should say I'm getting this off Wikipedia. So I think Wikipedia is a fairly good source overall, but
For all of your medical training needs.
Right.
Yeah. Gen X, Holly, 65 to 80. There's no other
And I'm
name
just
for
going to
that. It's
say
called Gen X.
that I'm at the very end of Gen X, just for everyone listening. Like barely Gen. No, okay.
That's awesome. What they always say, the saying with Gen X is, "What have you done for me lately?"
Oh, that's a great song, but
Right? Isn't
I
that the
don't
saying
know.
that they give? Okay, and then the millennials, also known as Generation Y, 81 to 96.
Is that you, sir?
It is. I don't know how to say this without offending people, but I don't feel like a millennial.
that's because you're right at the beginning.
I'm a few years in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Well, how do they describe the millennials?
well, okay, we'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
That's a big
Okay.
part of this whole, podcast. But I've heard that there is a subgroup of the Gen X and millennial groups, the 80 to 85 chunk. They call them Xennials. And I feel like that accurately describes me. But if
Well,
we're going
like
off
if you think
Wikipedia-
about 80 to 85, like that wasn't the time of technology yet. So you were just in that cusp of, you didn't grow up with technology, but you probably ended your childhood with technology.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
Whereas
making a podcast
people
and
on
running a
later
few
on in that,
websites.
yeah.
We're definitely it's a huge part of my life for sure. Yeah.
But people later on in that millennial group were born with technology, and
Right.
just had a totally different experience.
Totally. Yeah. And then the 97 to 2012 is Gen Z. Didn't know they're also known as the Zoomers.
Zoomers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Zoomer. I wonder if that'll be a phrase.
That's going to be a phrase. When I
Is
go
it
home
why?
tonight.
Like, was there
I
a big boom of Zers?
don't.
I feel like people are having less kids.
They basically grew up in the era of the war on terror. So, at least that's how this. Slide
Zoomers
is
like
identifying
using Zoom.
it. Maybe. Shoot, I don't know. Okay, and then new one. Didn't know this one. Generation Alpha, early 2010s to the mid 2020s.
No, that'd be your babies.
I have two kids that are Generation Alpha. Yeah.
So you have some Generation Alphas. I've got a Gen Z.
Uh-huh.
You've got a couple Millennials.
81 to
Right?
96?
No, 97.
Oh.
That's my
Okay, so
firstborn.
you have Zoomers. Boomers gave birth to Zoomers.
Zoomers.
That's awesome. Okay, let me look up something else here. This next slide is talking about the stereotypes. This is where some people might get a little offended.
Okay.
But
it's coming off.
it's coming off a very valid slide from the internet, so who knows? But maybe some of these ring true with us. Maybe we find them completely off. Boomers, stereotypes, okay?
Okay.
Out of touch and disinterested in learning new things.
Ooh, I kind of get that.
Now,
I mean, like the computer stuff, I feel like
I would
if I could
say,
have-
personally,
Yeah.
working with you, that you're not interested in learning new things.
well,
I think certain mediums you don't like at all,
correct.
but in general, you love to learn.
Right.
Yeah.
And change in my profession, right?
Yeah.
But if I could have a flip phone again, I would do that in a second.
Not a fan of the smartphone.
Oh man, for a while you were carrying around your daughter's pink iPhone 4.
Nice.
Wow, Holly, that was just between us.
I was like, nice phone case. You're like, it's my daughter's.
It's got glitter.
I'm not saying you can't have a pink phone, but mostly it was that it was like the original iPhone. Like
Right.
she'd moved on.
Yeah.
And you still had her hand-me-down.
Yeah.
It's pretty cute.
That's what a good dad does.
Yeah. Hand-me-downs.
Good. Okay, so can we see how that might be potentially true?
Oh,
On some
absolutely.
level? Okay.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to validate stereotypes on this podcast, but we're trying to learn from generational differences as we can see them. Or at least
And it is
our
a
experiences.
vast amount of years, and the way that technology has
Oh, totally.
and exponentially increased, it's almost like they need to
Yeah,
decrease
condense
the
that.
generation
Just
stereotypes.
Yeah, 45 to 64.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah. Okay, Gen X. Holly.
I'm up.
Oh boy, this kind of sounds mean. Cynical and poor team members.
Oh,
Oh.
That sounds kind of harsh.
it does. I mean, I'll take the cynical part, but I'm a good team player. I'm a middle child.
What person in healthcare isn't cynical?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you're helping 500 people a day, giving them shots. The last thing you want to do is talk to a random human on the street right now.
That's right.
But poor team member? No, not Holly. Holly's a good teammate. I wonder why they get that label.
Oh.
It's kind of strange. Okay, hang on. I'm talking about stereotypes. I didn't talk about strengths. Strengths are on this as well. So let me go back.
Just go back to the boomers.
Yeah, go back to the boomers. Oh my gosh, Daniel. Characterized as being workaholics
Yeah.
who relish long weeks and overtime. Oh, man.
Nailed it.
Wow.
Did you
I feel
write
like I'm
that?
speaking to your soul right
Yes, me too.
Growing up in the Depression's not easy, guys.
now. Man, they are more committed to their roles than any other generation.
I'll take it.
Boom. They
Yeah,
are
'cause if you-
considered. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, because, like for instance, my dad, not that you're old enough to be my dad,
Well, thank you.
they went to work for 30
are
years
old
at the
enough
same
to be
place and retired, right? That's kind of like the dedication there, is to just keep working at the same
Place.
same job
Keep- yep.
forever.
Plugging along.
401k.
Yeah. Considered good team players,
Thank you.
Yes.
with 53% of organizations saying they work well with others.
Wow. Those are some
Wow.
good strengths.
They're powerful.
Yeah.
They're regarded as making excellent mentors to their colleagues and juniors. I just got done saying, in a lot of ways, you're like a mentor to me, Daniel.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Not with technology
No.
at all. You're the antithesis of a mentor. when it
I don't
comes
even know
to
what that means, but you know what? That's awesome.
Mentors being mentors, right?
Okay, so now we got to go back to Gen X. Strengths. 70% of organizations believe Gen X are the best overall workers. Bam. They're committed to juggling work with family time and favor work-life balance.
Ooh, See, that's good.
That's a new concept for me.
Ooh, this is a weird one. Or not a weird one, a good one. Gen X is considered to be the biggest revenue generators overall.
I see that.
You want to make some money? Hire Gen X. All right. Dude, Xennials is on here. No way. They put in, Shock. I picked the slide that had the one that, fit me best. Stereotypes. Oh boy. Cynical. Oh man, you're gonna.
So this is
you're gonna laugh
Is
at
this
this.
Xennial?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a little bit too close to home. Poor team members and too confident.
I see it.
I know there might be some truth there.
The 5-star.
5-star. Yeah. They started us young in medic school, man. They pump us full of this, overconfidence. Strengths. Let's just focus on that because we don't want to sit on stereotype stuff too long. Highly adaptive. Unique ability to think abstractly and find new solutions. Go me. Team players. They can interpret, translate, and relate to just about anybody and can quickly adjust to different points of view.
Wow.
Still going. There's more.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there's more.
Yep. Coachable. They have strong opinions but tend to be less vocal than millennials, so coaching is an effective way to leverage their unique point of view.
Bam. You look so smug right now.
Yeah, look out.
That too confident, overly confident?
Sits back, chest comes out.
Yep.
Man. I don't even know if we need to go any further than that. Just leave it there. Oh. Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is spot on.
You think so?
Yeah.
I can
What's
see a
the
lot of
next
that.
one after you?
Well, then we have the straight millennials, right?
Right. I think that, again, Xennials is kind of I don't know if that's actually a thing. It just feels like
Okay.
the Gen Xers and millennials teamed up the last 5 years that overlap and said, hey, Gen Y or millennials.
Can you tell me what years those are again?
Gen Y is 81 to 96. Xennials, 78 to 85. So there's this gap.
I mean, that's us.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
technically.
They're not looking at me when they say that.
No. What's it like working with highly adaptive team players that are coachable? Daniel?
And overly confident.
Right.
Whew. Okay. Millennials, here we go. Don't get mad. Just is what it is. Stereotypes. Entitled and lazy.
Ooh.
Okay. I would say that is an accurate stereotype. Not saying that that's accurate of people, but that is a stereotype that I have heard as well.
But tell me the years again for the millennials.
81 to 96.
Okay.
Strengths. Of all generations currently in the workforce, they are considered to be the most independent workers. And I would say that's pretty dang true. They are concerned with ethics and social responsibility of the organization they work for. That's very true. I've definitely seen that one. They've grown up sourcing information they need to be left to create their own processes rather than being told exactly what to do. I feel like these
That's
strengths
accurate.
are really
Yeah.
hitting true. I would say that I don't know. I'm talking about myself essentially, depending on which source you look at. But the millennials that work for our department have all of those strengths. They love to work by themselves. They love being a paramedic because they get to be in the back, making their own decisions. They love learning. They love, doing all this stuff in their profession. But there are lots of reports of entitlement and at times, depending on the person, laziness. But the one thing that I felt was probably the truest in that was concerned with ethics and social responsibility of the organization they work for. Mm-hmm. They're so concerned with knowing that our department cares about their work-life balance.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And our department does not care about their work-life balance.
I don't know if any department ever actually does, even if they say they do.
Right.
They really don't care.
I think it's just lip service, but all right, we'll get into that in a little bit. Gen Z, 97 to 2010. And again, these years are probably slightly different than what I shared a minute ago. Stereotypes, more cynical and no loyalty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Interesting. Strengths, the most tech competent of any generation, able to pick on developments quicker than any other employee, than other employee groups. They are natural entrepreneurs, with 72% wanting to start their own business someday, when polled. Described as the quote-unquote always-on generation, able to multitask unlike any other generation, using up to 5 screens at once.
Oh, my gosh. Jeez.
Wow.
I still type with 2 fingers.
You do. I've seen you.
Yeah.
It's like you put the pointer finger and the thumb together, and then you just hunt.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. So I'm trying to think, do we work with
We do. Those are the kids.
the people we are just starting to hire, our
Right.
Gen Zers?
Yeah. I look at the top end. What age are they at right now? I can't remember.
The top end would be 25,
25. Okay.
right? Because it's 96. And my daughter,
97. So
97.
well,
so 20.
yeah.
Yeah, 20.
Around
So
that
they're
age.
daughter's
fresh out of
23.
college.
yeah.
Yep.
That age. Okay.
And so these are the kids that we're hiring right now.
Right. And I guess the question that I'm asking myself in looking at this stuff is, what can I plug them in my role when they're assigned to me to do certain things? Like, what are they going to be naturally most likely better at than others? Because I'll be honest, I'm not really worried about focusing on their stereotypes or their negatives, because that's not going to do anything.
So let's say you have this is how it works in my fire truck. Okay.
Yeah.
You got the officer, the driver up front. You've got another firefighter next to me who's usually super young, and then me, super old, right? Mm-hmm. And so we have the iPad in the back where we look up, like, it's called EGIS or something like that, where you can look up which apartment it actually is. Mm-hmm. So the officer's dialing us where we're going and what we're going to do, and the other firefighter has the iPad because I can't even turn it on.
Right.
And which exact apartment we're going to, and where the fire hydrant is, and so on and so forth. So that's how it's delegated in my rig. And then I'm the old guy that, okay, I've been in the same fire station for 21 years, so I know you turn right here, turn left here, go right here, this is your best access. So that's how it's delegated in my fire engine.
It's interesting because a lot of the people who've retired from our department lately, we keep going back to how much industry knowledge we've lost with their retirements.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't replace that with a piece of software, and we can't replace that with a class.
Yeah.
But it's interesting thinking about how, in theory, all the stuff that today's generations are doing could be replaced with software on some level, because they're so tech dependent. Mm-hmm. All their work is going into a tablet and then to the patient, mm-hmm. or vice versa.
And on like that primal level, like when I started working in EMS, we had those giant box maps.
Yeah.
And it was like this, 6-inch thick book with a 1 square mile map on it. So you had to find your box map and then map yourself. Mm-hmm. You're all constantly just no technology, right?
Map page 265-395.
Right.
And you're like,
Yep.
did she get that right?
Right.
I heard 385.
Doing that though is like, you do have all of that muscle memory. Even now when I drive past certain streets, I was, I know where stuff is.
Right.
But now that I use my GPS all the time, I don't know which way's north or west.
Yeah.
It just detaches that, maybe just for me, because I'm old, not having to actually use those physical maps anymore. So if your technology goes down, how good are you going to be at finding the best access or mapping yourself in? But then again, if technology goes down, they might just be like, doot, 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 and fix it, and you're good to go, right? Whereas I would be totally lost.
Exactly. I have, so this is kind of a funky thing I was just thinking about. So I have at my station, we do 24/48 schedule, and the 3 lieutenants that are there, we are, I don't know what you want to call me, a Xennial or a millennial, a Gen Xer, and a boomer. And I follow the boomer every morning that I start, right? And without fail, every single morning I have to get in the rig and reset the map on the computer. Because what he does when he gets in, every time he goes to a call, he's zooming in because he can't read the screen very well because the font is like super tiny.
Right.
And so he's zooming in heavily and he's twisting the map to whatever looks good. Well, when you twist the map and then reset it to the next address, it stays at that twisted state. So if it's like, instead of up being north, up might be southeast. And so there's been times where I forget to do that, punch in the address, and I'm like, whoa, where are we going? That street doesn't go that way. Like what? And then I have to hit reset on the, anyways. And it's one of those funky little things that we just do differently. And I think about that every single morning. And that's a generational difference because
totally.
He will admit he's not comfortable using technology heavily. I am. And my buddy who follows me, I mean, he's great with it. Like no problems at all. It's really interesting.
But so spot on.
Yeah. I feel like we've got to hit on the millennial thing because it's such a hot topic of conversation in general. What have your guys' experience been? Why don't we start with the negative and get it out of the way?
Okay.
Because it's always better to end on a positive, in my opinion. But what have been some negative interactions you've had with the millennial generation at your department, Dan?
So the one that really is big right now is the vaccine pod. So we have a pretty large department, and we have a whole new ops branch for vaccine, right? And so on any given day, we'll have like 20 line people in doing vaccines and entering all the paperwork and blah, 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 all that stuff, right? It's always the same people. It's the battalion chiefs, it's the captains, there's a few drivers, but the firefighters outnumber everyone else 2-1, right? There's me and a couple of others just on the firefighter level, and the young kids are not showing up. They're on the mountain, they're at the beach, they're doing bicycle rides, which is great. And that's the great work-life balance thing. But we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
And we have the same people doing it. And granted, there are people there that are trying to, look good for promotional exams or whatever. But for the most part, they're just doing their part to end this thing. Mm-hmm. And we don't see those kids.
Yeah. I think on that note, working in a college town, it is... I can't talk about it for too long because I get so angry at the flippant attitude about the pandemic that they have and how it's been so disruptive to their social life. Right. And, they can't see that what they're complaining about is a reality for everybody. And it's just me. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what you guys have had to deal with, but with our current staffing, we're heavy. I think we're at around 50% currently that are on the line that are under 30 or 32 or something like that. And we're seeing a lot of questioning, like the idea of a vaccine for this younger group. I don't know if I want to take that. I don't know if that's safe, and then what kills me is you're a medical professional, or at least you're supposed to be, and you're questioning stuff that you've never questioned before, but I think they're probably playing into some political things. They're probably playing into some other stuff going on and just rumor and hearsay. And they wouldn't flinch at putting another drug in their body or drinking too heavily or whatever, but yet something that has just so many numbers behind it that can actually help us get out of this thing that they're complaining about. is the one thing that they don't want to do. And
do they not want to like read the actual science?
Well, I've had people tell me, well, I got to do my own research, which, let's be honest, you're probably not doing research. You're
just
probably
looking on the
reading
internet.
articles on the internet, which, okay, fine. If that's what you want to do, good. But that's not research. What you're doing is you're trying to educate yourself by reading some articles, and hopefully they're from legit sources and they aren't just news.
But they're trying to find the facts that support their decision.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
It's a skewed way of looking up information.
Right.
They're trying to support their own feelings on something.
Do you think it has something to do with, in your early 20s, your frontal lobe is still developing, so you don't really have that as much, the cause and effect.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And at that age, you are, by definition, invincible in your development stage.
Yeah.
You take chances. That's why, 20-year-olds have the highest trauma rate, right? 20-year-old men. They're invincible. Nothing's ever going to happen to me. I'm going to live forever.
Yep.
And honestly, how many 20-somethings have gotten really sick from this?
Right.
So they probably just don't feel, part of that might just be that they feel invincible. So why not? And I'm just going to
I remember
push
early
back.
on,
Yeah.
you telling me about 22 or 23-year-old that was on ECMO that you flew.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just don't get it.
Yeah.
And it's because it hasn't happened to them personally.
Right.
That they just don't see it. And for me, and we've shared this in other COVID episodes, but we got hit hard with our family.
Yeah.
My, extended family got it. My immediate family got it. Luckily, no one in my personal at home got it. But, my grandma died from it. It's a big freaking deal. And because people can't see it in their immediate view, their lens, it's all of a sudden not as relevant. It's just blown out of proportion. And I had some friends over, and one of them was spouting off about, well, what about, the flu numbers have gone down, and I think just they're making everything COVID these days. And when you hear, and they're, to be clear, they're not in the medical field and, make a lot of questionable life choices, we'll put it that way. But when you hear them say things like that, it's so, I've learned I just can't engage. Like, I'm so worn out from having to explain, data and
then you go to work and you put on this jumpsuit and this respirator, and every call you're thinking, is this the call I catch COVID?
Yep.
And then you got to go home and deal with those type of people.
Yep.
I get it.
Yep. We did that for a full year before we were comfortable, with our vaccine status. But even now, we still have COVID calls. We're still going on them. They're not going away. Mm-hmm. We're still going on them. And I'll end my rant with this. It's frustrating that the group of people who are typically college age right now that are the most annoyed with COVID are the ones that are doing the least to help us get out of it.
Yes.
And our numbers are still high. Data is showing in the state of Oregon, one of the largest groups, time and time again, is the 20 to 29-year-olds.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, man. Do your part and help us get out of this thing, because we all want to go back to normal. I want to go back to concerts, okay?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh, me
Good
too.
heavens. So let's wrap it up with some good things we hear about the millennial generation, because
I'll let you lead this.
I've got a few.
Okay.
I do think, in our job, coming from the flight company, we don't get 20-something-year-olds, right? Because you have to have a certain amount of experience before you can apply and be a flight medic or nurse. But in the hospital, certainly we get fresh out of college, fresh-faced 20-somethings. And you're right, though. The social justice is such a huge part of who they are as a group. It is you said I get this time off. And they, to the letter, they will take their vacation, take their FMLA or whatever it is. So they're actually being better advocates for themselves than we are as older folks. But that social justice is really something that I think across the board, they are concerned about for everyone, being more accepting of different types of people, whether it be race or sexual orientation, anything like that. They are way more accepting and able to assimilate. I know, it's really good. And so definitely moving in that direction, that's a great thing for our society, is to be more inclusive and more able to say what your needs are. They're going to therapy more than any other generation, things like that. Yeah. So you got to love the millennials for teaching us how to live good.
It's true. Good point.
And the thing that I think I hear entitled more as a stereotype with them. And I don't know. It feels like entitled is what you're called when you stand up for yourself.
Yes.
A lot of times.
Yep.
And
by people who don't know how to do that.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so I know that I would say 10 years ago, one of the big classes we were going through a bunch at the fire department was, safety, safety, safety. And if you see something, say something. And that was a big problem to get people to talk, because they didn't want to, go out of their rank, and they didn't want to speak up out of turn. Mm-hmm. And nowadays, it is commonplace for people to speak up when they see something. And, that's a safety thing. Like, hey, we gotta talk about that before we go do it, because that could be something that could lead us down a bad path. And it may be, depending on the person, used too much, but I'd much rather be on that side of the fence than on the other side, where we're getting people hurt more because people didn't speak up. And so I would say I see them, like Holly was saying, wanting to follow the rules a lot more, and wanting to be aware of what the rules are. They like to know what their boundaries are to work within. But they also hate to be micromanaged. Mm-hmm. And as a person who hates to micromanage, I love having millennials on my crew, because I can literally say, here's the 5 things we got to get done today. Go do it. And they're going to figure it out. They do not need their hand held a lot. And that's been a really fun thing to work with.
But with those same people, let's say the dryer vents need to be cleaned out, okay? Mm-hmm. And it's obvious they need to be cleaned out. Would they do that on their own, or would you have to say, this is one of the 5 things we need to get done today?
So self-starting. I would say generality with that would be that generalization is that they are not going to go find busy work to do. They would call that busy work. Finding work to do is not something they're interested in doing. They like having objectives, meeting the objectives, and then having their own time.
I see that at my house.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I look at my current crew. I have a kid who's, just promoted to engineer, and he's quite a few years younger than I am. And then I have a firefighter who is 3 years post-retirement, who is still working and is literally sucking up any ounce of overtime he can get. And the generational differences, I think, are what make our crew really, really fun. We pick on the old guy. We pick on the young guy. We pick on the inflated head lieutenant, right? Like there's always something to tease people about and have a good time. And
it's a good mix.
It's a really good mix. And I think, I wouldn't want to work with 3 me's, No.
Yeah, no.
Oh. It's the differences that make it fun to come to work every day. But.
And I do feel like the young people in the country right now, not to make it political at all, but they, again, they're concerned about the environment. They're concerned about all these things that, no offense, baby boomers, we're not concerned about and still probably don't care about, but someone needs to.
Right.
And it does seem like the millennials and even the Gen Zers they really care about those things. And I think that we need people like that to kind of move us forward or keep us moving forward, even though us old timers are going to bitch about it, because back in my day,
Right.
you know,
Exactly.
we did this. And so it's fun to watch the different generations coming up. I have a teenager now, and it's just, she's so different than I ever was at that age, into so many different things and aware of so much more than I was.
Yeah. You know, I think we should leave it there. We got to find a stopping point. This is one of those topics that I think we can all agree on. We could just go on forever on, but
I learned a little something, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we can all agree though that it's the mixture of generations that makes coming to work fun. And it's the mixture of viewpoints that makes what we do that much more enjoyable.
Yes.
Yeah. We all have our strengths and weaknesses, but
That's a diverse workforce right there.
for sure. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much. And we'll leave it there.
All right. Thank you, sir.